Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a watch that is brand new for 22. This is the Moser Cie Streamliner Tourbillon Vantablack. Building on the previous Streamliner Tourbillon, what we have here is an extraordinary combination of a red gold case, a Vantablack dial with back-mounted rose gold indices. So a lot to love right here. Let's jump into the size. It's 40 millimeters in diameter. It's pretty thin, all things considered, at 12.4 millimeters thick. And I'm measuring the first link outboard of the case on each side for a distance across the wrist of 45.6 millimeters. Now we'll throw this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you'll get a good sense of how it fits. It fits well. It fits a lot like the original Streamliner center second. So if you liked that and you thought it fit well, this wears a lot like that. It's thin. Considering the power reserve, the tourbillon, and the automatic winding, it is remarkably thin. You can see it will slide underneath the cuff across the wrist to get a good sense of it. This is the wingspan, so to speak. I could see it wearing well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. Now, it's nicely counterbalanced because of the extent of the rose gold bracelet and clasp. There's a lot of mass on the underside, so the watch is well balanced. If you want to wear it loose, it's not going to move around excessively. The bracelet has a wonderful organic quality to it. You can see there's no seam between the individual links. There's no daylight showing, so to speak. The gap is remarkably tight. The tolerances are outstanding. There's hardly any side-to-side play. And while the watch certainly draws aesthetic inspiration from the 70s, it's not just another Royal Oak and Nautilus knockoff. We've seen too many of those. What this is a celebration of 70s design paradigms, such as the lapping machine radial satin bezel, the tonneau case, and the integrated bracelet that is, in this case, a lot more like what you would have seen on, say, Omega Speed Sonic chronographs or Ebel sports watches of the time, again, rather than IWC, Vacheron, Patek, and A-Piece. This is a very original design that pays tribute to an era, not a model. There's a nice break between the satin and the polish. You can see the center of the bracelet features little polished inner faces. We have satin across the top, polished shoulders. The outer faces are satinated. We have here a form of pin and sleeve system for the individual removable links, and you can see there are quite a few of them in the relatively short and cross section, so you have a lot of fine-tuning flexibility for sizing. We have a Bracelet bracelet and clasp. That's how all this is made and who makes it. They're down in Ticino, the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, and that's why it says BRO on the inside of the clasp. We have that lovely combination of satin and polish inside the clasp as well. It's a twin trigger release, which I like to see on heavy and expensive watches because this isn't a friction fit system. It can't simply pop open if you suddenly jerk your wrist or move with violence. Now, the case has a little bit of a recess to its profile. This is common to Moser watches. They all have a different kind of case band recess. Most of them just use a concave profile that's polished. You'll see on the Pioneers there's usually a recess that's coined. Here we have a recess that is bounded by two polished lips. So we have the bezel itself, which is satinated on the top, beveled on its side and polished. And then we have the case back, which is all of polish with a little bit of a flank that is also polished, and then that satin finished recess within. We have a crown that has a little Moser M on it in a double knurled pattern. It is a screw-down crown. The watch is 120 meters water resistant. On the dial side, we have a lot going on. Let's do the lume shot first. The lume material is called Globalite. It's a sort of ceramic-like material with luminescent qualities, and it's mounted atop the hands, which are black polished rose gold. The dial is Vantablack, a material around for watchmaking purposes for about 10 years at this point. It is supposed to be the most light-absorbent material short of a black hole. So 99.965% of all light that hits Vantablack will be absorbed. Most of the reflection you're seeing here is actually on the crystal, not the material beneath. Now, what really sets this apart from previous Vantablack dials, especially at Moser, is that they have indices on it. So these rose gold indices have been back mounted. There are little cutaways in the shape of the indices around the dial, and then what you're looking at is something that is actually sitting under the Vantablack material. So this is a first for Moser, and it adds beauty and definition and, frankly, time-telling legibility that's usually absent on Vantablack dials. Now we'll take a look at the tourbillon. It's a special one. First, it's a flying tourbillon, so there's no upper bridge to block your view of the mechanism. It beats away, at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It is a 1-minute tourbillon, so it can double as your seconds hand. Take a look, 2 flat hairsprings, 180 degrees opposed. So when one, due to gravity, is going to run fast, the other, being exactly opposite, will, by the same amount, run slow. So when one speeds up, the other will, by an equal and opposite amount, slow down. And that's how it works in any position. So it actually achieves the purpose of a tourbillon without the tourbillon. It has that gravity corrective effect. Now, it's also free sprung, which means it's exceptionally resistant to shock, vibration, concussion, and it will take and hold a very precise adjustment. Now, the tourbillon carriage is the best finished part of the movement. It's front and center, so it should be. The beveling is world class and clearly hand laid. You can see that these stud holders for the free sprung hairsprings, those are black polished, and they have little whiplash adjustment springs to keep them pinned. You'll also note that the carriage underneath the upper carriage is beautifully satinated and beveled, so you can see there's a lower carriage and upper carriage, and you can well see that all the lower carriage has been hand finished. In addition, it is quite beautiful. Turning it all over again, 120 meters water resistant. We have a multiply finished, that is triple finished, rose gold rotor, bidirectional winding via a magic lever system. It's a pawl-based bidirectional winding system here. We have ceramic rotor bearings for low maintenance and high efficiency. The same kind of bearings, ceramic bearings, are used for the underside of the tourbillon to reduce friction and allow it to be mounted only on a lower pivot with no upper bridge. Now, all of this executed by Moser. Quite impressively, they also make the balance and the hairsprings and the escapement, which even most movement manufacturers will not attempt to make themselves. This has a 72-hour power reserve. You can see there is one mainspring barrel. It sits in a golden chaton fixed by black polished screws, a nod to the pocket watch era of H. Moser & Cie watchmaking during the 19th and early 20th centuries. And you can see that the movement is properly sized to fit the case. It doesn't seem undersized in the slightest. Now, we have double crested Cote de Genève across the bridges, and we have black polished screws. So there's quite a bit of hand-finished eye candy here to appreciate, and there is lots to love in this extremely limited production model. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this H. Moser & Cie Streamliner Tourbillon Vantablack.